I have quite a few of them. And I said, is that legal? I said, well, anyway, what I said was, well, you've just guaranteed that this book is going to be controversial, if nothing else. And it certainly was. And the family was very upset about this. But I can't remember. I mean, it actually didn't come out until after the book was published, I believe, or at least it was after I was not there.
So there were actual transcripts, if I remember right.
Tapes, not transcripts, tapes. So
I had a
she
guy
was able to listen to her voice.
I had a guy on here who has tapes of Ann Sexton and her kind, the rock group. He was the manager.
Oh, you're kidding?
Yeah, and I say you should put him on CD. He doesn't want to, he just, no.
Doesn't want to do it? Oh, it's too bad.
Now, you're a published poet, so I've just been fascinated in discussing, so I'm going to give you actually only have 7 minutes, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine.
But so maybe you want to read some of your poems.
Sure.
Because you are a published poet. Pudding House, very good small presses, put out your poems, and you're a bagel bard and all that good stuff. So there you go.
Sure, I'd love to read a few. Tried to pick some that were, at least a couple that are particularly appropriate for a local audience. And this is, this one, Boston is my adopted home, so this one is about that. It's called Becoming Bostonian. I hear the music of 7 languages on a 4-block stretch of Harvard Square. See the copper glow of the Hancock Building at sunset. Feel the familiar bump of cobblestones under my feet. Mark Twain said, people in New York ask, how much is he worth? While Bostonians ask, how much does he know? That burning desire to discover keeps the city humming. Yet we're grounded in history too, still treading on brick sidewalks made of baked clay. I stand on them one night on Beacon Hill, gaze up at the few stars city lights allow to shine, feel myself stretched between past and future, the pull of the earth on which our forefathers stood, the pull of the moon which they could not have dreamed their descendants would visit. Or perhaps they did. One historian reports that there were books on Beacon Hill while wolves still howled from the summit. Perhaps some Englishman closed his book one night and stood where I stand, imagining everything I see and loving his adopted city as much as I.
I think there's still some wolves howling on Beacon Hill, if you know what I mean.
Yes, yeah. For sure, for sure. And this one you mentioned earlier, that I live near Emily Dickinson's house. And
that was in Hadley, or?
No, in Amherst.
Amherst,
yeah. And there was actually a contest to write a poem that had something to do with Emily Dickinson, you know, either imitated her style or something along those lines. And this is what I produced. It's called Loving Miss Dickinson. She sits before the window, tiny hand trembling as she writes. I rest the ladder softly against her sill, the warm light of her oil lamp drawing me upward. When I reach her, she cannot bring herself to look at me. I lift the sash myself. A breeze ruffles her stationery. Her eyes glance off mine. "M," I whisper. She stands up suddenly, tipping her chair silently onto the thick Persian rug. I crawl through the window, across her writing table, upsetting her inkwell, which bleeds across her pages. And then she is in my arms, fragile as the crystal kitten on her dressing table, which is more precious to me than all the world's diamonds. We make love, but not in the modern sense. Sit side by side on the bed, her tiny hands enveloped by mine, her enormous heart beating in time with my own.
You should maybe say a love letter from Dickinson, from Higginson.
Yes.
The guy to...
That's right, that's right.
Yeah. Although you're probably a better writer than he was.
Yeah, I guess he was an editor, and that's what he was meant to be. This one, believe it or not, I wrote for the woman who cuts my hair. Her name is Mena, and she's from Italy, and she came over here when she was about 10, 11, 12, 13, somewhere around there.
And may I say she does an excellent job.
Thank you, thank you. And she told me this story, and she always tells me stories about Italy because I love Italy. And she told me this one, and I actually went right home. I took a walk after getting my hair cut, went home and wrote the poem, and so I want to share it. It's called Angelus. In Campania, at her grandfather's farm, fieldstone house secure as a castle, she sleeps beneath the high eaves, underhung with swallows' nests like pots of clay. She walks the vineyards with him, too small to see over the vines, her eyes full of leaves, fat grapes, and overhead the bellies and wings of birds about their business. She longs to see the birds, to be the birds. He lifts her high to look into their nests, at perfect oval eggs, at hatchlings scrawny, pink, and vulnerable. When he arises to work the fields, barking dogs wake her. She listens to the newborn swallows just outside her shutters, crying for their breakfast with the dawn. From her bed, she stares up at the vaulted ceiling, at the painted angel flying around the light fixture, naked save the loincloth rippling across his muscular thighs. His wings are white as a swallow's belly, and from a basket on his arm he strews flowers across a faux sky, each growing brighter as the sun outside rises higher. Finally, she throws off the covers, pulls the shutters open. Sunlight, like 100 chandeliers, bathes the angel in glory and herself in joy.
Thanks, Larry.
I guess we got cut off there.
That's all right, but for the purposes of the tape.
Yeah.